Good morning, happy Monday. Welcome to the Pitch Eye Chronicles, where fans become family. I am Uncle Taz. I am here with Donald and Rob, who is having a camera issue, but is here with us loud and clear. And the other thing else that's loud and clear is this Yankee team is just, they are really, I'm feeling very confident they are back to form. Playing solid baseball, winning games they're supposed to win, grinding out games for wins. This is the team we saw in the beginning of the year that went absent for a month and a half. And it's amazing after the trade deadline, the trade acquisitions, guys able to kind of take a breath that they're still here, that wanted to stay, and having Judge and Soto in the lineup. I mean, Judge is just on another freaking level. You know, first player this year, he's got 40 home runs already. He's got 100 RBIs, 100 plus RBIs. It's just, he is just, no wonder why they don't pitch to him. You know, I've heard a few people, well, he's no Barry Bonds. Judge doesn't need any help to his body to be intentionally walked because they're afraid of him. Judge is doing this on just pure natural talent. And that's got to speak for itself of why Judge is in that Barry Bonds conversation as far as being not feared of a hitter. But it's thank God that Aaron Judge is a New York Yankee. That's all. There's really nothing else really to say about him. He's unbelievable. You know, they had him. You know, it doesn't matter if he's playing right, left, center. You know, any other bar game they want to make up to, you know, in the game, and his approach at the plate. Even with the guy behind it, you know, they have Wells in the cleanup spot. Wells is hitting pretty well. So you're able to see what a consistent bat behind him can really do to impact the game. Because it's not, you know, I know they're putting up the four fingers, and look, they should have. I mean, what do you have, 3 intentional walks yesterday? You know, that should be the treatment that he gets. He's that dangerous. But I want to start off with Rob. It was a good series. It could have been a sweep. But a series win is a series win. So, Rob, how are you feeling about how the Yankees played this weekend?
I feel like they disrespected Austin Wells. They weren't afraid of him, but I mean, why wouldn't you be afraid of Aaron Judge? The guy's on another level right now, but he's going to be the fastest at 300 home runs. That's insane, considering all the power guys we've seen just growing up watching the sport, even with the steroid era. The fact that nobody's going to get to that number as fast as he will, that's pretty impressive. But for once in a while, I'm not really worried about this offense. It's the pitching that's got me a little bit concerned because over this series, it wasn't the best. Rodon was fine, but Stroman wasn't, and Cole got off to a rough start. I'm not too sold on him just yet. I got to see this over a course of a few starts in a row where he's able to give us better numbers overall. But offensively, this team's playing well. Like you mentioned, Judge is outstanding. Soto, you can't stop him. The top of the order, they got to figure it out. Who's leading it off? Is it Torres? Is it Verdugo? Is it eventually a call-up of Dominguez? Something's got to be done about the leadoff spot, but everything else is seemingly falling into place. Wells has been fine. I think Stanton will get it going eventually. Volpe's been on fire. I'm not naked, Joan. I have camera issues. I can't figure the damn thing out. But what I can figure out is that the Yankee lineup is a lot better right now, and it's very fun to watch because you don't feel like you're out of games anymore. A month ago, if this was 2-0 or whatever it was that Cole gave up those runs, you probably didn't feel like they were going to come back because why would you pitch to Soto and Judge? Now you have to pitch to Soto, and they're just walking Judge. They're putting 2 guys on base just because they're afraid of them. And the Yankees, it's going to be up to them to make them pay for it. Like yesterday, they had multiple chances with the bases loaded, couldn't score. They got to eventually make teams pay for walking Aaron Judge, and then you'll see them start to pitch to him again. But that's going to be up to Austin Wells and Giancarlo Stanton.
Donald? You're muted, buddy.
Sorry about that. I was having a call. What my suggestion is swapping Cole and Soto in the lineup. I think it's an easy fix, and it would stop teams pitching around Aaron Judge. Gives Juan Soto some RBI opportunities. Juan Soto is basically like, for me, he's like basically 100% for runners in scoring position. He's that good. He's been absolutely remarkable for runners in scoring position, Juan Soto. So I think that's what I would do, and that would basically stop pitching around Aaron Judge, because Aaron Judge is having one of the greatest seasons of all time already, and there's still 2 months of the season to go. So I don't want there to be a situation where the pincher pitch around them. So they need to do something in order to avoid that. So that's what I would do. I would swap Judge and Soto in the lineup and get more pitches to hit for Aaron Judge. And my God, will Aaron Judge deliver? I can guarantee you that you'll probably get 63 home runs. Rob, what would you suggest? Would you agree with that suggestion?
I mean, I've seen a lot of people bringing that up, but wouldn't they just walk Judge in the 2 spot at this point and then face Soto? I mean, they're kind of doing that now because Soto's been getting on base at an incredible clip as well. Yep. He's not hitting the crap out of the ball, but he's taking his walks. He is getting his singles, and you could try it. I wouldn't. I've been saying that since like the first couple of weeks. I would give that a shot. So if it works to them to a point where teams have to pitch the Judge, then by all means do it. But Aaron Judge is on another level right now, hitting in that 3 spot, and I don't know if they want to mess with that because that's the one part of the order that hasn't been broken pretty much all season long. And I think eventually they're going to start making teams pay for that. Austin Wells has been hitting the ball very well, no pun intended. And I do trust that Giancarlo Stanton will eventually start running into a few. So like I said, it's going to be up to those guys. And even Jazz Chisholm, he's hitting the crap out of the ball since we got him. So it's up to those guys behind Judge. If they start hitting and driving runs in, teams are going to be forced to pitch to Aaron Judge. So you can give it a shot, but if let's say they do it and they're like, well, we'll just walk Judge and face Soto with 1 out.
Well, then that's their problem because it's going to guaranteed be an RBI.
Right. But what did Michael Kay say? Or it was either Kay or Girardi yesterday that said Judge is already in scoring position the second he steps to the plate. So I don't know if they want to break that up just yet. I would try it. I wouldn't mind it at all. I just need them to figure out leadoff, because if you get more consistency at leadoff, then let's just say Verdugo goes on a tear again, or Torres figures it out at the top of the order. If you get Torres and Soto on, you got to pitch to Aaron Judge.
I agree with Nosebleed, and I agree with you, Rob. For me, what they need to do is they need to swap Verdugo and Jazz at the leadoff. They need Jazz at the leadoff. I want Jazz's speed at the top. It'll make it absolutely frightening. Now, I know that his pitch selection isn't maybe ideal for the leadoff spot, but his power and athleticism and incredible speed, and he makes decent contact too. I think that would be awesome at the leadoff spot.
Yeah, I don't know if we're seeing. Yeah, I know. Some of his early at bats in his Yankee tenure, have been phenomenal. Some of them have been okay, but I know that they want to have, a guy with his speed and agility and pop, kind of in the middle of the order to kind of protect the 3, 4, 5 guys. I think if you're gonna move him into the leadoff spot, I'd like to just see them just make that move, because I think because he does have a tendency, he puts together good at bats. The results may vary, but he does have a good eye at the plate, and he can cause a pitcher right off the gate have to throw a couple of extra pitches, which is what you want. You want your power guys that are on deck and in the hole to kind of be able to gauge what's working for that pitcher or not. So it's not a matter of just getting on base. It's the approach of the at-bat that can be beneficial for a leadoff hitter. And I think Jazz fits that bill. And also he could be a pain-in-the-ass distraction, with his speed on the bases, which could even cause even further disruption of the pitcher for Soto and Judge. So I think that could be a very successful formula.
I just don't want
If they put it into practice, we'll see.
I just don't want Torres leading off, man. Like, he's one of the worst base runners in the league. He's an absolutely horrible base runner, and I don't think that's ideal for leadoff spot. Plus, he's having a pretty bad season. He's better of late, but he's still having a very bad season. So I don't want him leading off. Verdugo he's actually best leading off as opposed to any other position, but I still don't think he's the caliber of hitter anymore that should be leading off for the New York Yankees on a playoff / World Series run. But that's my personal opinion. I think Jazz Chisholm at the top would make it a little bit more exciting, and that kind of explosiveness, that explosive speed at the top would actually help. I think the batting order. That's my opinion.
I don't know if they want to take Jazz out of the middle of the order because he has come through already in such a small sample size and multiple run scoring opportunities, and that's where he's at his best. So, also they don't like to have speed at the top of the order because they don't want to take an at bat away from Soto with a guy on base. That's what we all talked about with Volpe. Why is he not running more? All of a sudden he's batting in the bottom of the order and they're running. They're double stealing with guys batting fifth or sixth and seventh. So maybe they just don't want speed at the top of the order because if they get on and they try to steal and they get thrown out, then someone's off base for Soto. Then it makes it a lot easier to pitch to Soto, which then makes it a lot easier to intentionally walk Aaron Judge. So,
well, that's true. But remember, Volpe is a very young player, and he's still learning. He's not the best base stealer yet. He's still kind of figuring it out. He's not. He's not like totally firing at 100% all cylinders yet in terms of knowing when to steal bases and stuff. Jazz is already there. So, and Jazz he's even faster than Volpe considerably. So I don't think that's necessarily going to be a problem. But I know what you're saying, but I don't think that would be a problem with Jazz. And putting him with a runner in scoring position already with Soto and then Judge following him, that would be absolutely electric. And I think that would stop a lot of intentional walks and stuff like that.
It's also they're putting it up in the chat. What's going on, everybody? We are following along with your chat. We're going to give you a shout out in a minute. But no, the runners in scoring position, and I think they said he's at 300. He's got a 300 average with runners in scoring position, and it does strengthen the middle to the end, the bottom of the lineup, because it was such a weakness for so long. It does lengthen out the lineup itself, having Chisholm and Volpe in the bottom. Your 7 and 9 spot, or 6 and 9 spot. However they orchestrate the lineup. I think that's also giving a strength to Jazz in the order. So it really comes down to when are they going to make a decision on the progress of Dominguez? Are they going to call him up early, or are they going to wait for the September call-up so they don't have to cut anybody? Because they're going to have to move somebody to get him back up. So
yeah,
it's now it's just muddying the waters a little bit. But when you get Dominguez back, when that would be, by then you'll have Stanton. Like Rob was saying, he's going to wake up. He's going to start running into a few. I mean, that's going to be a dangerous lineup towards the end of the season, going into the playoffs. They're creating. They're putting it out there that they're going to be a definite threat at the bat.
Well, that's why they have Dominguez leading off in AAA right now. I think they're preparing him for that, and I think you're right, because September you don't have to cut anybody, and right now there's nobody that they will cut. The opportunity to make some room was on July 30th, and they didn't do that, so they're not cutting Glaber, they're not cutting Verdugo, they're not going to cut Trent Grisham, nor should they. They're not going to cut DJ LeMahieu. So they're going to wait till September, unless there's an injury. That's when you get Dominguez here. So they have to figure it out for the next month, who's leading off. I hope that Verdugo starts hitting again, but he's looked so bad for a long time now. having him anywhere in the order just seems like an automatic out. So I don't want to put him in the middle of the order because CT brought it up earlier. You put him where Jazz is, all of a sudden he might hit into a double play because that's all he's been doing is grounding out. So you'd rather him ground out to start the inning than have him ground out with the guys on first and second. That's what it's come to. I think Glaber's better in the leadoff spot. That's where he was hitting at the start of the season, and he looked okay there. And then he went on that maybe 2-month-long slump where he was batting in the middle of the order. I think you keep it the way it is. There's no need to really play Verdugo every day because Grisham's been hitting. And Grisham's been the better hitter. I think maybe you play Grisham more. I know Donald texted me that the other day. He said he'd like to see Grisham a little bit more, even over Verdugo. So maybe you go with that just to get him a little more playing time because Verdugo hasn't necessarily played well enough over the last 2 months to warrant everyday playing time.
Oh, definitely agree with that, for sure.
Where Grisham over the last really 2 months has been pretty good. He's come up in some clutch spots. His defense has been great. I know there's that little issue yesterday with him and Judge, but overall, he's done everything you could have asked of him. We knew he wasn't a great bat. He was just more of he'll run into a few, and he's a plus glove. Well, he's played to the back of his baseball card, where Verdugo hasn't. So maybe you give Grisham a little more play, which would mean more Aaron Judge in left field, and you roll with that until Dominguez is here. I don't want to wait till September either, but they might not have a choice. That's the thing.
I'm fine with that. So yeah, let's break down this series. Let's get stuck into it. It's a lot to cover. So yeah, there's a lot of talking points, a lot of discussion points. So as Rob pointed out here, I think Grisham earns more playing time. I think he's been exponentially better than Verdugo for a while now. And yeah, like he provides a bit of pop. He got that clutch RBI against Boston. So clutch. And he tends to come through. He even came through in extras there to set up the winning run. So I think we should see a little bit more of Grisham than we do. So that's one thing to cover. Another thing, let's get it out the way right now. I think Aaron Boone had his best managed series in a long, long time. I would even hazard a guess that this is actually one of the most defining series that Aaron Boone has actually had as a manager, where he finally managed. He finally took the gloves off. He finally actually managed players. He sat down Gleyber Torres. That was a great thing that happened. And he didn't back down as well, which was key. He did not back down afterwards. Because normally, like I can name when Aaron Hicks was taken from the game and Aaron Hicks was, embarrassed himself. Aaron Boone sort of kind of backed away from it at the end afterwards. He was like, no, it wasn't for disciplinary reasons. But this time, he says, no, I felt this was the thing that I needed to do in this moment. I think that was a great thing that Aaron Boone did there. Gleyber Torres, maybe this is something that Gleyber Torres can learn from, and Gleyber Torres will be a better version of himself as the season goes on now, because Aaron Boone held him accountable. The thing is, it's been going on for far too long. I think even Aaron Boone admitted it, because he actually says that he's shown a lot of grace with these guys. So I think he even admits it himself that, he's probably been a little bit too lax with these players. So he finally showed a little bit of balls. And you know what? It had a huge impact, because Gleyber Torres didn't complain. Well, he complained at the time, but then he admitted it, and then afterwards he said in the interview, "Yeah, I dogged it. I apologize to the team. I'll do better. I'll be better." I don't think Gleyber Torres is a bad guy. I think Gleyber Torres is a good guy. I think he tries his best, but I think he gets very lackadaisical. And unfortunately, the Yankees are in this mode right now where they just let it slide, and it doesn't help them. But finally, they held him accountable, and good things happened from that point on, because I noticed as soon as Aaron Boone on the top step said, "Nope, you're sitting right beside me, brother." After that, The team just seemed to have a better energy about them. It was like, shit, if Aaron Boone's doing that, we all better fucking pick it up. That is what I noticed because we played really hard yesterday, and I've not seen us play that hard in a while. It's been a while. It's been a long time of really lazy play and all this shit. And, I was there at the Mets game, and I was disgusted. I was absolutely hopping on a spot, furious at the lack of effort. But there was effort yesterday, and I think a lot of it was Aaron Boone finally standing up and being a manager, holding people accountable. Gleyber Torres, if you're going to dog it, if you're going to be lazy, if you're going to embarrass the Yankee pinstripes, you're sitting right beside me. Boom, things changed. From that point on, people played harder, team played harder, teams finally won. Boom.
It goes to, how we sign off on the show. Wear your pinstripes your pride and play hard. And it seems like ever since the turnaround after the break and the trade deadline, that's exactly what these guys are doing. They're playing with some pride, and with Torres, I think it was the perfect guy to do that too. And there were people that were saying, well, it's too little, too late. No, better late than never is how I like to put it. What about this guy? But they keep and I even complain about it. Why do they keep pushing, putting LeMahieu into every game at some point? But I think doing it to Torres because, this isn't somebody you're trying to, fix because you have him for the next couple of years. We only have him for a couple more months. And to kind of, look, dude, you're better than this. We've seen you in the second half come through over and over again. Wake up. This is not how you play your game. Regards with Grisham, this is the result of consistency. You're also starting to see a little consistency in the lineup, to further give credit to Boone. Because this is what we've seen in the beginning of the year. When there was a little stability of where everybody's role was, they were able to just get the job done rather than going to the stadium. All right, am I going to be batting first, seventh, ninth, or fourth? Am I playing right, left, center, or catcher? Nobody knew what they were doing for a while. And there was a lot of mixing things up, trying to fix everything rather than just going back to what was working. We're seeing in the second half of the season, they're going back to what was working.
Yeah, and Torres has 3 hits since he got benched. And the team almost came back in that game. If it wasn't for the fact that Marcus Stroman flat out stunk, they probably would have won that game. So I think it did something. I don't know. I don't necessarily agree with playing him immediately the next day, but it certainly sent a message that we've been waiting for a very long time, that if you make a play or if you don't hustle or if you don't do whatever, then there's going to be consequences and you're going to be held accountable. That's all we've been asking for with Aaron Boone. We know we're stuck with the guy. We don't necessarily love him, but if he just started to show a little more, I guess, of a human element to his managing instead of just managing with a computer, then we would probably respect him a lot more than we do. I mean, I don't think he's nearly as bad as people say he is, but I don't think he's nearly as good as some people hype him up to be. He's more in the middle. But that moment, I was like, there we go. That's what we've been wanting to see. And then the team woke up a little bit. Torres seemed to complain and Boone didn't seem to give a shit. Torres walked away with this angry look on his face, and then Boone was just like, all right, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. And the team almost came back, and they fought. And that's why I said I'm no longer worried about this offense right now, because they fought back in a game that looked over. So if it wasn't for that pitching in game 1, they probably come back and win that game, and they probably get a sweep. So the team responded well. Torres responded well. He could have easily complained about it. He didn't. He owned to it and went back out there the next day, and he's looked pretty good since then. His defense looked better. His bat looked better. So let's hope this is finally the wake-up call that he needed. Is it too little, too late? Probably, but hey, if it gets us 2 months of a better Glaber Torres and the team's going to be better for it, and he can leave with his head held a little bit higher because it won't be that bad of a walk year for him if he can finish these last 2 months strong and hopefully be a big part of a playoff run. So I'm glad to see that Boone finally held someone accountable because him not running out of the box cost us the run. Because then you can blame Rojas for sending him, you can blame Torres. That was a bad play in general, but that took a run off the board. And I think that's why Boone took him out.
Well, as Raziel says, why is anyone complaining about this at all? He got benched and responded positively. It should have been like this since day one, but regardless, he responded. And that's exactly how I view it, Raziel. This should have happened since day one. If he held Torres to any kind of account years ago when Torres started lollygagging around, I don't think any of this would have been an issue to this day. But he's allowed it, and it's not just Aaron Boone. It's obviously what the front office requires from their managers to put a helping hand and cuddle them and tell them how much they love them and all that shit. It doesn't actually help because just look at what happened. By sitting Glaber Torres and basically embarrassing him, he responded positively because that's how you manage. Sometimes you have to take measures that you don't really wish you have to do, but sometimes you have to as a manager. Sometimes you have to put people in line a little bit. Sometimes you have to have a conversation going, this is not how you do it. And in this case, Torres held his hands up and he's like, yeah, I screwed up. I'm sorry. And that's a good sign for A. Glaber Torres, B for the Yankees, because finally you can see now, and maybe this is an example that Aaron Boone can now use to the front office and to Brian Cashman, who require their managers to be all lovey-dovey with their players. Now Aaron Boone has now got the evidence and the proof that sometimes you have to give them a kick in the ass occasionally. And there's nothing wrong with that. And it's nothing about digging them out in public, because I thought another thing I'll credit Boone about is the way he handled it afterwards.
Yeah.
He didn't kick Torres' ass afterwards. He didn't throw him under the bus. He didn't say anything. All he said was, I felt in that moment, that's what we needed to do. We had a conversation, case closed, end of, right? And he was very forceful about it. He was very forceful about it in the media. He was like, end of. I'm not going any further. That's it. It's case closed. It's done. I hope that we all learn from this moving forward. So he didn't just put it all on Torres. He used the term, the general term, we all. I hope we all can learn from this. So he's setting an example as a manager, and that's how you manage. That's how you cultivate a locker room. That's how you get guys singing from the same hymn sheet. He's now just said, basically, if you get lazy and if you don't play hard, you're sitting, right? And now things started to change. From that point on, after he said that, things started to change. Now, a lot can change in baseball. Baseball is basically, it can all change on a daily basis. Maybe 24 hours from now, the Yankees will start lollygagging around again. But from what I saw, Aaron Boone holding his team accountable, saying things like, we all can learn from this, is a really positive thing for A, him as a manager, and B, the Yankees moving forward. Listen, I'm not a big Aaron Boone fan. I'm not. But I also agree with Rob. I don't think he's nearly as bad as almost the way the Yankees have made him.
Yeah.
I don't think he's nearly as bad as that. I think that he does know baseball. I think he does know the game. It's impossible not to with the heritage that he has. And every time he speaks about the history of the game, he knows every pitcher and batter from fucking 50 years ago. He's a very smart guy. I think the Yankees have neutered him. And you know what? He's just played up to it because that's what keeps him employed. But shame on him in that case, because you have to, if you're going to go down, which he is, if the Yankee team doesn't succeed, he's going to go down with that ship, and he's not going to be brought back next year. So if I'm him, I manage with the gloves off, and I go for it. And if someone fucking doesn't like it, just sit down. Because we've all got an agenda. We've all got one purpose here, and that's to win a World Series.
Yep. And brief side note, just got a notification. I like that I like that they send the notifications from YouTube, but not for every subscriber. But we did get a new subscriber alert for Michael Keeley. So, Michael Keeley, welcome to the Pitchline Chronicles family. Join us in the chat and give us your takes on Torres and anything else that you want us to discuss. And again, welcome to the family. Listen, one of the other things, and you talked about it, Donald, was how he was right in the lineup the next game. That's exactly what should have happened. And I think it was NFE on the strike zone was another great challenge. Subscribe to him. No, I'm like, no, you have to put him back in the lineup the next day. Look for the moves like that, getting embarrassed mid-game, being taken off the field like that. If you don't have an attitude change immediately, it's not going to happen. And you also don't want to let it sit in his head and let him just keep mulling around, because these kids these days sometimes can be a little oversensitive. So I wanted them to throw him right back in the fire, and they did, and the results were on a positive level. And we were able to get a lot out of them. So it's
I did have a problem with bringing Torres back in the lineup the next day. I just wouldn't have had him lead off. I would have, but that's just personal. But I think they did the right thing. I think they did the right thing. I think they did the right thing bringing him back, because it's sort of like, okay, well, you screwed up, but let's see if you can prove yourself the next day. And Torres was better. He was better. So it obviously worked. And as Damien says here, we have to remember Boone is not guaranteed next season. He has to step up, and that's exactly my point.
Yeah,
he's only here. He's going to be a sitting duck. He's going to be a lame duck if this Yankee team doesn't achieve what they're supposed to achieve. So if I'm him, I'd go out and give it my absolute all in terms of managing, and let's see if it pays off. Certainly a good sign. Certainly a good sign. They should have done this years ago, but better late than never. So that's a good start. Another thing. So we've touched on Grisham, touched on Aaron Boone. I think DJ LeMahieu might be carving out a role as a solid, maybe complementary piece. He's not an everyday player anymore. He's toast, but he still comes through on occasion. That's now 2 games in a row that he's played that he's had a big impact on the W column.
No, LeMahieu's been clutch. He's coming up with big hits late in games. He's another one that might have had that silent wake up call, without being pulled. But you're starting to see where he's not in the lineup every day, and he's a late inning, substitution. It's like, look, if my playing time is going to be limited, I better make it start to count. Because otherwise, I'm not even going to be considered to come off the bench. They're going to go with somebody else. But I want to get Rosin patiently sitting in silence over here.
I do not trust DJ LeMahieu at all still. If the infield wasn't in, that would have been a double play yesterday. So, look, it was a good hit. I'm glad he got it, but I'm not going to go as far to say as I trust him still. He's been absolutely dreadful this season. So we need to see more of it. I think him in that role as a late inning replacement is perfectly fine. They don't need to play him every day. It needs to be a Rice, Torres, Volpe, Jazz infield with Cabrera being the first one off the bench. If you need to give Rice a day off here and there, which they shouldn't, but that's where you can use DJ, and he needs to be the late inning replacement for Torres, not the late inning replacement for Ben Rice. That's DJ LeMahieu's role at this point, because you can't put him in the lineup every day, because we've seen more often than not he's going to have these 0 for 4s, these 0 for 5s where he's grounding into double plays or he's hitting weak ground outs. So it's nice to see him finally come up with some big hits, because it's been 2+ months now since he's been back and he's been terrible overall. But hey, if his role for now is just to be a replacement, then so be it. He's a pretty expensive bench piece. That's all I know. And I don't know how much longer he can be that expensive bench piece before the Yankees decide to pay him not to play, which won't be this year, but maybe after the season. But for now, this might be his role, which is perfectly fine because it's better than him being in there every day.
Yeah, I agree. But the only thing I'll pick up on is I wouldn't diminish what he did yesterday, man. There was 5 infielders there, and he managed to find a spot in the infield where they weren't covering it, and he nailed it in that spot. That's actually a good hitter. He's a smart hitter. He's always been a smart hitter. He doesn't hit blind. So there was a one spot where the infielders weren't covering, and he targeted it and he hit it there. So that's a good hitter in my opinion. So I wouldn't diminish that. I think that deserves credit. But your point is correct. I think what he is he's a situational player now, and in the season at the end of the season they move on from him.
And I disagree, NFE, because they did it to Aaron Hicks, and he had 3 years, $30 million left. So if they DFA DJ, it'll be after this year. I don't think they'll wait till 2026 because if they did it for Aaron Hicks and he was younger, and he also had the same amount of money with more years tied to him. So the money doesn't really make it. To me, the money doesn't factor into it. If he ends the season terribly and has a bad postseason, what's the point of keeping him around?
Yeah. Yeah, it wouldn't be outside the Yankees realm to release a player. And it's not look, he's not making stupid money. He's the Yankees got a steal for him.
Yeah, they did.
With that second cut. $15 million a year. Come on, that's change for these teams. So it's not a money thing. I think it's a loyalty thing of what takes them so long. We saw that with Hicks. Donaldson was another one. He wasn't here long. Thankfully wasn't here long term, but he was another one. They were like, you know what, it ain't working. You got to go. Like, it's not out of their operations to just move on from a player. So,
yeah, as Mark says here, and I think yesterday was clutch and incredibly professional at bat. He shouldn't play every day, but that's more than you say. I actually kind of agree with Mark there. I do think it was an excellent at bat, and I think it was a moot point to say that it would have been a DP otherwise because he's a very professional hitter. He knows exactly where infielders are, and he found the spot where the infielders aren't. That's a good hitter as far as I'm concerned.
Yep. Yeah, it's not a slander on DJ. It's really not. And I know, we've gotten into, I know I've gotten into it with D-Rod, on the shows, about, you got to root for the laundry. And we do. Look, if a player's not producing, we're going to say something about it. We got to be, it doesn't mean that, we've given up on a player. It's not giving us anything positive to talk about. DJ's giving us stuff positive to talk about. We're going to give him we're going to give him credit for it.
That's it. Amen.
He woke up a little. He wanted. He beat. He beat a team all by himself. In the Phillies series. We always say it was. DJ 6 to Phillies 5, whatever it was. So we've seen these teams. These players come in and out of favor with the fans, and that's just the way sports is. Did you think that early in the season we're all going, man, Judge has got to come through? What's going on with Judge? Does he need more time? Does he need more rest?
That's right.
Nobody's immune on this channel from criticism. Nobody.
I can't believe Aaron Judge was even a conversation. That's just hilarious.
It's really, when you look back, like we should know better by now.
Yeah, my God.
But that's what we were saying. Come on, he's so much better than this. And we also were saying alongside of it, once he wakes up, watch out. And look at that. Look at him now. But
dude, if he even had like an average April,
yeah.
He'd already be on 50 home runs right now. He'd probably be beating Barry Bonds' record. But let's touch on the pitching because that's something. The starting pitching's been a little bit up and down, but the bullpen I thought actually had a very decent run of a decent series. I thought the bullpen actually pitched really, really well in some tough spots. But Stroman was garbage. Absolutely garbage. What is going on with Marcus Stroman? Let's ask Rob.
I think he's hurt. He's either that or he's got a dead arm. Because his velocity was down like 4 miles an hour. And he already throws soft anyway. And his best asset is that he gets good location. Now he's leaving meatballs over the plate at 88 miles an hour and he's getting tagged. I know he runs into these bad luck or these bad stretches every year at this point in the season. It's just a matter of when he turns it around again. I think he will, but I don't know, man. Like this is like 5 or 6 starts in a row where he's got like an ERA of near 7. He's been terrible. Um, yeah, he's throwing meatballs. He's throwing batting practice NFE. You're right. It's right down the middle, and until he starts to locate again, this is what he's going to be. But the Yankees have to either figure out what's wrong with him if he's hurt, and you got to put him on the IL, give him some rest, or you got to hope he turns it around sooner than later because we're trying to figure out what a playoff rotation is going to be. And right now, the only sure thing in this rotation is surprisingly Carlos Rodon because I still don't know what Luis Gil's limit's going to be at this point. We're still in August, and I don't know what the number is, if there is a number. But Cole's got to figure it out. Everyone's got to figure it out. But we need Stroman to get going again because he was great the first 2 months. And during this bad stretch of baseball, the pitching's been bad, but he has been extraordinarily bad. So he's got to figure it out because he's too good not to. He's a damn good pitcher. We saw that the first 2 months. He had like an ERA below 3. We were like, this is the best signing of the offseason. And for whatever reason, his stuff has just been flat. And I know this happens to him in the second half. I hope it's not an injury or if he's just tired, but they've got to figure it out with him sooner than later because we need him. We're paying him to be a number 3 starter. We need him to be a number 3 starter.
Now, I've got some frightening stats for you. Over his last 5 starts, he's given up 21 runs, 18 earned runs, and 6 home runs over his last 5 starts. 3 in 1 game. He's just fallen apart. He's completely fallen apart. So you get up 21 runs in just 5 starts. And what I'm noticing is exactly what was pointed out previously is he's leaving a lot of pitches right over the middle of the plate. Yep. A lot of sinkers, a lot of off speed, and it's just hanging there. Just hanging over the middle of the plate. He's not getting any movement. And he's always been a nibbler, but he's completely not trusting his fastball. And I guess I can't blame him because his fastball is barely touching 89 miles an hour these days. His 4-seam fastball. And you can't beat anybody. If your 4-seam is 89 and you're hanging off speed, then you are going to get absolutely tattooed. And that's what's happening to him.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, my cousin Nick and I were having this argument in the offseason when we got him. He's like, you're going to love him in the first half, but you're going to hate him in the second. And unfortunately, it's proven right because his second half, he always seems to fall off a little bit. Maybe, a skip start or two it might benefit him. It might just be not that players don't, but he comes in with such a different level of energy and adrenaline. It just might be, he empties the tank and he empties it too early in the season where he does need a couple of days off here and there. Just to kind of keep some energy, for the later end of the season. But the way it's looking right now, I don't see him in the postseason picture. Can he get to that? Absolutely. He is a great pitcher. He's just not great right now. I don't know what I know. I saw in one of the comments the postseason rotation right now is looking like Cole, Rodon, and Gil. One, we don't know what what his position is going to be, which is why there's so many question marks with him right now, because we don't know what his limitations are as the season keeps going deeper.
Well, because we didn't get any starters in the trade deadline, we really need Gil to be the Gil that we've watched all year long, bar 2-3 starts. He needs to continue to be great because if you look at the rest of this starting rotation, it's now reliant on Clark Schmidt coming back sooner rather than later. And Nestor Cortez is far too inconsistent. He's largely been freaking ass over the last month or so. So he's been bad. Stroman's been terrible. He's given up 34 hits in the last 5 starts. You can't compensate that. There's more to this, and I think you're right. I think your cousin's spot on, Tats. I think it's because he did the same thing last year.
Yep.
This is a guy who's like a semi all-star for the first half of the year, and in the second half of the year, he completely tanks. Now, maybe it's an injury, maybe it's fatigue. I don't know, but maybe he just doesn't have the stamina that can carry him through a whole year at this stage in his career. Because, as I say, if you're throwing 89-mile-an-hour fastballs and you're hanging off speeds and you're leaving sinkers over the middle of the plate, it's going to get freaking tattooed. It doesn't matter what velocity is. If you're hanging it over the middle of the plate, it will get tattooed. Just look at Clay Holmes. Every single time he pitches now, he leaves a pitch over the middle of the plate, a sinker over the middle of the plate, and it gets tattooed every single start, every single relief outing. So it's the same. It's just Holmes throws it 10 mile an hour faster, but it doesn't matter. If you leave it over the middle of the plate and it hangs, it will get tattooed. That's what's happening with Stroman.
Yeah, and I know last year with the hip, yeah, but what about, his second half, stats with the Cubs, with the Mets, the Blue Jays? It's not just a one-off year issue. This has been his whole career. He's had struggles in the second half. But if we're able to squeeze a couple more outings from him from a first half mentality, I'll take it, because they're not, he's not going to get, hit hard. But I think we're at that point, as we continue breaking things down. Let's just get to the awards, because this is going to be a fun one.
Hey-o. Right, first of all, guys, if you haven't already done so, hit that like button for us. We're going on almost 47 minutes and very active chat, and we haven't asked you guys to hit the like button or hit the sub button yet. So let's do that. Let's hit the sub button. Let's climb us over 800. That's our next threshold that we got to reach. We've reached 700. Let's now make it 800. So let's get the subs up. Let's get the like button up for my guys here. Let's start with these awards for a very interesting series. A lot of breakdown, a lot of interesting talking points. Let's start with the MVP. Case closed, as Sean says. Case closed, Judge MVP. Well, you read my mind there, Sean. MVP is Aaron Judge. There is no conversation to be had. He is the MVP. He's doing things that is just flat out ridiculous at this point. It's almost like you're taking it for granted almost, because he does it every single time. Every single time he gets a pitch to hit, he usually sends it deep into the seats. And it's normally about 480 feet. It's just stupendous at this point. Aaron Judge, I think you need to check to see if he's got wearing a cape underneath. I'm not sure if he's even human. Honestly, I think if you lifted up his undershirt, you'd see an S under his shirt. So he's that kind of dude, man. He's Superman. So MVP, Aaron Judge. Uncle Tats.
Yeah, I had Judge. I mean, it's just I went into it to open the show. I'm not going to go all repetitive, but what I will add to my liking of Judge, he's doing all of this, and let's also point out for any of you guys that have kids, he also found time to get involved with the animation for Paw Patrol, with his dogs. So he's just, nothing distracts this guy, and he's involved with everything. He's so good with the public. Yeah, if he doesn't get the MVP, it's a disservice.
Clean sweep. No conversation needed. It's Aaron Judge.
Salute. And all the fans, as you can see, as I've already pointed out, everyone in the chat is all 100% Judge. Razil does say, yes, we do take it for granted to some extent. I think you're probably right. My favorite comment is, "Hold up, wait! I think I just tripped over my cape," says Aaron Judge. Spot on, man. Spot on. Aaron Judge is remarkable. With the low key, there's actually some candidates here. Soto really stepped up towards the end, hit that big home run, and Volpe had a really good series. Volpe is a different player post All-Star break. So I'm going to hand it off to Tats before I make my decision. Tats, who is your low key?
No, I had Volpe. I think he's really. I think now that he's readjusted to not being the leadoff guy, that he's getting more comfortable with himself, and I think it's also because they're putting him in a position. They're putting him in a spot where he can be the most productive, and he's grown right back into it because this is what we were seeing early in the season before they put him in leadoff. So again, another player that just regained their form for the second half. Volpe had a phenomenal series, and so I had Volpe as a low key.
Rob,
I had to flip a coin because both him and Soto were so good, and it landed on Volpe. So I'm going with what the coin says, and it's no disrespect to Juan Soto, but Volpe did have a fantastic series, and I put this out to the New York Yankees. Do not move him in the lineup ever again. Keep him there.
say it louder for the people at the back.
Don't move him.
Keep him hitting ninth. It's spot on. Absolutely spot on. He had a great series. And look at the fans. The fans have all showed up and showed out for Anthony Volpe. It's 100% for Anthony Volpe. But I'm going to give it to Juan Soto because we would have had Grisham been a little faster, we would have won the game in the ninth inning. When Soto hit that double, Soto hit that home run yesterday. Soto did everything possible to win that game yesterday, but of course, Clay Holmes had his say, and we had to go into extra innings. But we got the win in the end. So I'm gonna give it to Juan Soto. I think he did great. He's loving his mission to get on base for Aaron Judge to hit monster home runs to bring him home. So it seems to be working, and so Soto is my low-key MVP, as he's basically been the whole season long. Soto is the real glue tying to keep us from. Yeah, I mean he's such a. What I love about Juan Soto is he's almost like a throwback baseball player. He's like a player that I used to grow up with, loving in the '90s. You know, he's like one of those. He's like a combo between Bernie Williams and Derek Jeter and all good things, all the freaking amazing players that I saw in the '90s. Hits for average, hits in the clutch, hits for power, hits for contact. He's like a combo of Bernie and Jeter and freaking Tino and all our freaking Paul O'Neills. And do you know what I miss? Do you know what I'm saying? It's just kind of like he's like a winning baseball player, and he gets on base. He's more than happy to take walks if he doesn't get his pitch. So underrated. He's just freaking unbelievable, man. He's just one of the best players I've ever seen in my life, Juan Soto. Let's go with the Clutch Award. I was going to give it to Juan Soto, but then somehow we got a walk-off win. And how many walk-off wins do we get these days? Not many.
Yeah, 2 this year.
All right. Well, one of them happened yesterday, and that was my guy, DJ LeMahieu. He will not back down. And I love that he had a mic drop moment on Meredith. He couldn't be bothered with any interviews. He wanted to jump in the celebration, so he gets my Clutch Award. DJ LeClutch. Uncle Tats, who is your Clutch Award winner?
I have LeMahieu. I think he's like I said earlier, his late inning at bats are really getting stronger, and we saw the result of it last night. They had to readjust the defense to 5 infielders, and a ground ball still got through. It's like we're like destined to win at this point. And if anybody needed to have a clutch hit like that, it was DJ. Because you don't want to go too many games without being productive after you were the only one that scored in the previous series. So I think DJ, I'm really enjoying what I'm seeing from him.
Rob.
I mean, if you're talking about the absolute word of what does clutch mean, that's it right there. So it has to be DJ. Although I do want to give an honorable mention to the double steal by Chisholm and Volpe because that helped set up the tying the game. But in terms of the word clutch, it has to be the walk-off hit.
Yeah, Sean says honorable mention to Wells, but the chat is absolutely universal.
Well, you could also give an honorable mention to Chisholm because his for Grisham because his defense, was stellar this week.
I like Grisham, man. Apart from that error, which was obviously not great, but I'm starting to like him. I'm starting to low-key like him, and I'm starting to think that he should get more playing time than Verdugo, honestly. If you're really thinking about it, he plays expert defense in center field, and he's a better hitter than Verdugo these days. So,
Yep.
That's where I'm at on it. So let's get to the pitching award. Let's start with Uncle Tats. Who's your pitcher award?
I'm going with Rodon. You're seeing that bulldog at him, and I think his second half. I think we're really getting back on track to seeing the Rodon that we signed. This is what we signed him for, and he's been delivering. It's not just a one-off start. He's been getting stronger each start. So he's got to keep it up because he can keep getting these awards. But right now, Rodon has been the more reliable, believe it or not, out of the rotation.
I agree, Rob.
I want to give it to Rodon, but Leiter yesterday was phenomenal.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give it to Leiter because we've been asking for that out of the bullpen for so long. Get us strikeouts at the end of a game and give us a chance to win. And that's what he did. I know he gave up a few hits the day before, but he came in there yesterday and looked fantastic. That splitter was freaking disgusting. So I'm going to give him a shout. And I love what Rodon did. He was obviously the best starter, but I'm going to give this one to Leiter.
I think you could also give credit to Weaver.
Yeah.
I think him and Leiter have played great out of the bullpen. Been pitched great out of the bullpen. But my award is going to Rodon. I didn't give him an award last week because I needed to see another start before I start giving him. And he came around. He actually pitched really well. And he was so important. If you want another version of clutch, it was him. Because of how bad Stroman was in Game 1, our starting rotation desperately needed a quality outing, and he gave it to him. So I'm giving him the award. Let's look at the fans. It's like Rodon and Leiter. Rodon. So Rodon wins, but Frederick says Rodon too. Everyone's saying Rodon, but I do agree that Leiter has been just vital. That was a really good trade acquisition by Cashman, to be fair. And much needed. Aaron Boone, out of 10. I'm saying it. I'm giving him a 9. 9 out of 10. Didn't sweep the series, so I'm not giving him the all three, but I think he managed it perfectly. And he showed accountability and managed with accountability. He backed it up. I think it's Aaron Boone's best managed series, possibly of the year, considering what we needed. Everything he touched was right in terms of starting DJ in a game, playing Grisham when required. At all 10. Do you know what? Fuck it. I'm giving him a 10. That's it. I've convinced myself because I'm looking at the chat. There's some 8s. NFE gives him a 10. Frederick gives him a 9. Jones says 10. Solid 8. 10 for benching Glaber. Yeah, exactly. Anytime you bench Glaber, you get a 10 for me. So 10 out of 10. Uncle Pat.
No, I gave. This is probably the only time that I will give him a 10 without a sweep, and for a multitude of reasons: defending his players against the umpires, making a statement with Torres, and then making sure that he got the message, putting him in the next game. Also letting trusting Rodon or giving Rodon the benefit of the doubt. that he can keep going. Let it right. We'll give you another batter. He was just very in tune with his players this weekend. He knew exactly. He did everything he could to make sure that they had all the confidence and were able to utilize every tool they had. I thought Boone, like we said, I think this was his best managed series of the year.
Yeah.
I think this is it's a 10 out of 10.
Totally agree, Tats. Rob.
Yeah, the team responded well despite the loss in Game 1. And that wasn't on Aaron Boone for Stroman sucking, so I got to give him a 10. He grew a pair. Finally. 6 years later, but he grew a pair.
Finally, 6 years later, exactly. I love that he threw the ball back at the Jays dugout. That was badass. That was badass. Even the umpires had to confer. Like, what do we do in this situation? They never thrown anything like that before. What do you think we should do here? Aaron Boone was just like, nah, fuck you. That was awesome. So, Boone really just Boone gave it out this series, and I love it. He gets 10 out of 10. Let's go with the L. There's actually a lot of L's to go around. I'm going to start with giving the L to the home plate umpire. Yesterday, I thought he's going to get. There's going to be a couple of L's to give out. One of them was the home plate umpire. I thought he was a freaking disgrace. What was his name? Tripp Gibson or whatever? He was throwing everybody out in the dugout. He threw 2 Yankee guys out. He threw, I believe he threw out Matt Blake and he threw out Aaron Boone, I believe. Or no, he threw out the hitting coach, actually.
Yeah, it was Rosen after he threw out Boone.
Threw out Boone and threw out Rosen. That was a disgrace. The guy's a clown. He was horrible and he made it all about himself. And he couldn't control the game. And I thought he was the definition of a prick. So he gets the L, and then Marcus Stroman gets the other L because he's putting us in a hole. Every single time he starts now, he's putting us in a hole. I've given him a break basically for the last month, even though he's been really bad. His ERA is almost 7 these days. I've given him a break, but you can't have 34 hits in 5 games and 21 runs. That's just stupid.
No.
Like, what the fuck are you doing? Wake up.
Yeah, my L, I'm giving it Stroman. I'm sorry. If he gives us just one good inning, we have the opportunity to sweep because despite the runs he put up, I don't know if it was just me. I still felt like they were going to win the game. But he put them so far behind that quick that even our offense couldn't dig out of that. And that's why, we didn't. He's the reason we didn't sweep. He gets the big L.
Rob.
Yeah, it's Stroman. Cost us a sweep. Simple as that. He was terrible. He's got to take the L.
And let's get to the Aaron Hicks Award for the worst of the worst of the worst of the worst of the worst. You could say the umpires were in that conversation. I mean, heck. How do you feel about the Blue Jays manager just basically walking Aaron Judge? But would you do the same thing if you were a Blue Jays manager too?
I would.
That's the thing.
That's not a Hicks move. That's just smart baseball.
Exactly. If you put yourself in his shoes, you're like, do you want to face Aaron Judge? No. So I can't really blame him, even though it's bad optics. So I'm giving the Aaron Hicks Award to, another thing. Stanton left an entire village on the base paths. Like there is a small village sitting there without anybody because Stanton left them all on base. So he had a horrible game yesterday. The Yankees would have blown the Blue Jays out had he done anything at all this series. So he gets he might even get the third L. But my Aaron Hicks Award goes to Gleyber Torres because He's the whole reason why Aaron Boone had to bench him in the first place. Sorry, bro. If you don't play hard, I've got no defense for you. I'm getting sick of you. I'm so sick of you. I can't even speak. I'm so sick of him. I just want him gone. Whatever it takes, please go. Get out of here. Oh, please go. Oh my God, I'm so sick of him. So I'm so glad that Aaron Boone held him accountable. Oh, can't stand to look at him. I can't stand to look at Clay Holmes either. You come in with the bases loaded and 1 out. All I'm asking you is to throw a sinker low. Try throwing a sinker low that you can induce a ground ball. You don't throw it, hang it over the middle of the plate, which should have gone for extra bases and lost us the game. But Aaron Judge saved the day by catching it at the wall. But that would have been another. Well, it was a blown save, but it would have been a loss. So uh, I'm still giving the Aaron Hicks award to Gleyber Torres, though. Aaron Hicks, Clay Holmes will avoid that award for at least a week, but he's still ass. But Gleyber Torres gets the Aaron Hicks award for not hustling.
Yeah, there were three that could have gotten you this award. I wanted to give it to Torres, but his response to the benching avoided him getting the Hicks award. Stanton, he's really just getting back, and when he comes back from an injury, it usually takes a week or two for him to get his rhythm. So he gets a reprieve for this week, for this series. It's going to the umpires. They were terrible on both sides. They were equal opportunity assholes behind the plate. And they're oversensitive because you can get them balked out from the bench. You're going to throw out the manager and the hitting coach. Get a box of tissues, and just call the game the way it's supposed to. Learn the strike zone. It was bad. And you got players arguing all over the place.
It's true.
And I've had to give this award to the umpires quite a few times this season. And it's getting annoying because I want it shouldn't be about the umpires. The umpires should never be the fucking story. But yet again, here we are. And I know Laz Diaz, we all know the whole thing with Boone, with with all the animation. God, stop having Diaz behind the plate for Yankee games, please. It's terrible. It's like Angel Hernandez is back to haunt us. I think they graduated from the same stupid class of umpiring because they're both equally blind. So Laz Diaz specifically, because this is not his first rodeo with embarrassing himself and his profession behind the plate. But the umpires overall have just been terrible.
So true. Rob.
I'm putting this on the Umpires Association and MLB for allowing these assholes to have immunity for everything because they're making the game about themselves. Every game, the umpire is making it about himself. Whether it's Diaz or Tripp, douchebag, these guys are consistently making the game about themselves. And it's ruining the game. I totally agree with John Heyman. He was asking for the automatic system sooner than later. And I usually don't like what John Heyman has to say, but I am in full agreement with him because I cannot wait for this automatic strike system because these umpires are absolutely terrible. There was a point yesterday where they were just talking for like a good minute and a half for no reason. They just stopped the game. After Soto's home run, then they walked Judge. And then they started to have a conversation. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I believe that was about Aaron Boone throwing the ball back in the Jays dugout, and they were trying to figure out what to do. But I agree that
I don't know. Yeah, it was a minute and a half to say that. Do we give him a warning for what? Like, just
really
get on with
bizarre.
the game. These guys are idiots. I'm sick of them, and I cannot wait till they no longer have control over the game.
You can't throw out multiple people in the same dugout. It's just over all the, and they didn't even say anything. It's not like they were causing a ruckus. It was just like, it's over. It was low. So why don't they just admit it was low, then start throwing everyone out of the game and affecting the outcome of games?
It's not like how it used to be where, the umpires would correct themselves, right? I know I'm sorry. They'll recognize. Yeah, I kind of missed that one. So the next borderline pitch, like they'll just all right. I'll give you one back. And it kind of self-policed itself, and you just don't have that anymore. They're just too sensitive. You can't have 2 ejections on 2 pitches.
No,
I mean, come on. And one was the second pitch was worse than the first at that point. I'm like, and that's why they're all going, they want to complain about when fucking Judge swings out of the zone. Well, they're going to call it a strike anyway. Might as well try to hit it, because then we'll be bitching that he's striking out with the bat on his shoulder. But, you don't know, especially with the slider. The sliders are tricky. It's not, unless it's hanging, it's very difficult to square up on. But that's why they throw him so many sliders, because if you get it on the corner of the zone, 9 times out of 10 they're going to call it a strike. It could be off the zone. I don't know. They're not even looking at the glove movement of the catcher. You saw on that one where he thought he got the walk, and it made that count 3-2. You saw the catcher had to lean into to catch the pitch. It wasn't even like he was already positioned there. He had to move his glove out of the strike zone to catch it, and they still called it a strike. I'm like, that's how blind they are and how arrogant they are. So I think Rob's right. You got to blame the association as well, because they keep employing these people. There's no penalty.
There is no penalty. You look at tennis, right? And you have to say the umpires are like 99% accurate. And these balls are flying at 100 miles an hour, both sides of the court. And you have centimeters to decide whether a ball has hit the line or not. And the umpires get it 99% of the time right. And then the other rest of the time, video replay is used like that. Bang. And it's sorted. Job done. Move on. And it's played at a much more accurate rate. But baseball, which is slower, it's a slower game. You have time to decide your strike zone and focus your eyes. If it's an issue with like an umpire not like focusing enough, you got plenty of time to focus. You got 30 seconds each pitch. You can focus. It's not that hard. You know what the strike zone is. Everyone knows it's the same strike zone for the last 100 years. It shouldn't change, right? It shouldn't be difficult. But for some reason, they get it wrong, and then they blame everyone else that they get it wrong. They throw everyone else out, even though they're the one that's screwing up. What kind of dumbass situation is that? And at the end of the day, every single fuck up that these umpires make affects people's at bats, which then affects their batting average, then affects their money that they're going to get in their contract year, and it goes up and it goes on and it goes on. There's no accountability for the umpire, but there's accountability for the people that strike out. So it doesn't make any sense, and it's disgraceful, and it doesn't happen in other sports. I watch every sport known to man, and the worst umpires by far are baseball. By far.
It's so out of control. Rob, any more to say on this?
Nope, not at all. They suck. Get rid of them.
Get rid of them.
Well, that's going to wrap things up for us today. Hope everybody did enjoy the show as much as we enjoyed having you with us. And if you have not already, hit that like button, hit that sub button, share this out with your friends, your family, the strangers on the corner. This has been the Pinstripe Chronicles, where fans become family. And as we always say, with those pinstripes of pride, and play hard.